Same $5,000 in credit card debt at 22% APR. Same extra $300 a month. Sam pays the debt off first, Drew invests it instead. At 22%, Sam wins easily. There's no investment on earth that reliably pays you a guaranteed 22% a year. But change the interest rate on that debt, and the answer flips completely. That's the real math. It was never debt or investing. It's a single number, the rate, and here's exactly where it tips. At 22% APR, a $5,000 balance accrues interest fast. If Drew only pays the minimum, that balance barely moves. Most of the minimum payment covers interest, not principal. And the card keeps charging 22% on whatever's left. Meanwhile, Drew's $300 a month goes into the market, averaging maybe 9% in a good year. Run 2 years of this, and Drew is paying around 22% on a shrinking too slowly balance, while earning roughly 9% on the side. That's a 13-point gap working against Drew every single month on top of carrying debt the entire time. Sam, by contrast, wipes out the card in well under a year, stops bleeding 22% in interest, and then redirects the same $300 a month into the same index fund Drew used, but starting from zero debt instead of carrying it for years. After 2 years, Sam has more money, no debt, and significantly less interest paid. This isn't close. At 22%, there is no version of invest instead that wins. Paying off debt is mathematically identical to earning a guaranteed return equal to that debt's interest rate. Every dollar that goes toward a 22% balance earns 22%, risk-free, because that's interest you stop paying. So the real question for any debt isn't, should I pay it off or invest? It's, is this rate higher or lower than what I'd realistically expect investing instead? Credit cards, typically high teens to mid-20s%. Pay these off first, essentially every time. No diversified investment reliably clears that bar. Most personal loans and many auto loans, often high single digits to low double digits, usually still favors paying down, though it's closer than credit cards. Check your specific rate. Federal student loans and some subsidized loans, often in the mid-single digits. This is where it gets genuinely close, and often tips toward investing instead, for the same reason the mortgage math does. Check out our dedicated breakdown on mortgages, specifically, since the logic runs in parallel. Now change the scenario. Same $300 a month, but instead of a 22% credit card, it's a 5% federal student loan. Sam pays it off early, which is mathematically equivalent to a guaranteed 5% return. Drew makes minimum payments and invests the $300 at a historical average of roughly 9%. This time the math favors Drew, the same logic as a low-rate mortgage. The guaranteed 5% is real, but the expected 9% is higher, and over a long enough timeline, that gap compounds in Drew's favor. The rate is the entire difference between round 1 and round 2. Same 2 people, same strategy each, opposite winner, because the number on the loan changed. Here's the catch with round 2. 9% is an average, not a guarantee. Some years, the market is down 20%. A 5% loan payment never goes down. It's fixed, due every month, regardless of what the market did that year. That's why financial planners often apply a margin of safety rather than chasing the exact average. A common rule of thumb: prioritize paying off anything above roughly 6 to 7% and feel comfortable investing instead only below that line. Not because the math is exactly equal there, but because the guaranteed side deserves some credit for being guaranteed. Where exactly you draw that line is a judgment call between expected return and how much risk you're willing to carry while still holding debt. There's a version of this math that looks great on a spreadsheet and fails constantly in real life. The plan, make minimum payments and invest the rest, only works if the investing part actually happens. Every month, without fail, for years. Research on debt payoff behavior consistently finds that people who use the simplest, most motivating method, paying off the smallest balance first, regardless of rate, sometimes called the debt snowball, are more likely to actually finish paying off debt than people chasing the mathematically optimal order. Mathematically optimal and behaviorally sustainable are not always the same plan. The best plan is the one you'll actually follow for the next 3 years. not the one that wins on a spreadsheet. You'll stop checking in month 4. Above roughly 10%. Pay it off first, essentially always. No realistic investment return makes carrying that debt worthwhile. Roughly 6 to 10% leans toward paying off first for most people, mainly because of the risk gap between a guaranteed rate and an average one. Below roughly 6%, especially below 5%. Reasonable to invest instead while making minimum payments, the same logic that applies to a low-rate mortgage. And at any rate, if you struggle to actually stick with the invest the spread plan, the debt snowball isn't a math mistake. It's choosing the version of optimal you'll actually finish. The question was never debt or investing as a permanent rule. It's a single number, your interest rate, compared to what you could otherwise expect to earn. Look up the actual rate on every balance you're carrying right now. That number, not a generic rule of thumb, is what should decide where your next extra dollar goes. New breakdown every week. Subscribe so you don't miss it.